to this. The first is in terms of understanding how another NATO country works, because Poland is a relatively new
And
NATO
Ambassador
member.
Bhattacharya, let me just mention that we are now playing out the shots of bilateral engagements, bilateral talks between Prime Minister Narendra Modi and Polish Prime Minister Donald Tusk, the delegation sitting across the round table. These are delegation-level talks between India and Poland. Prime Minister Narendra Modi and Prime Minister Donald Tusk chairing these delegation-level talks, a round table, and the leaders engaged in conversation. India and Poland talks underway as we speak. Ambassador Bhattacharya, the point that you were making, we are now playing out the visuals. You can please complete the point that you were making about the areas of focus.
Preparation, yes. Before I go to that, I must mention this is a very interesting arrangement for the bilateral talks, because usually you have them facing each other, but to put everyone on a round table is really a very, very interesting idea, because it shows the equality of intent as well. And so the pictures are truly very powerful. But to get back to the defense cooperation, I think this will happen on two fronts. One is the ideas and theory of defense, how we collaborate with a new NATO member, how we understand how their strategies are evolving, because the theory of war is changing very, very dramatically in our times. The second aspect, which will also be extremely important, will be about defense cooperation in terms of hardware. We've had significant collaboration on this issue in the past as well, and I would be very interested to see what the new outcomes are going to be.
And Ambassador Bhattacharya, when you emphasize on defense cooperation, we also are looking at India's attempt at diversifying its engagements with world powers as far as defense cooperation is concerned. Traditionally, it has been Russia, but now more and more partners and members of the West are becoming a part of India's defense engagements.
Indeed. And I think what is also important to emphasize is that there is a very strong Make in India component of our defense hardware as well. And we are also becoming partners and players in the defense export industry. So I think all this will be part of the discussions, particularly on the defense side. You're right.
Right. Dr. Swasti Rao, your thoughts on the visuals that we're playing out at the moment. Of course, very interesting round table. We don't see that very often. Leaders sit across the table, not together in a round table. The focus areas again.
Well, yes. I mean, first of all, yes, equality of intent is very much on display. I am also very pleased to see not just the External Affairs Minister along with the Prime Minister, but also Shri Ajit Doval and also Vikram Misri. So that kind of, I think, except for Rajnath ji, who's going to be in the US for a very important discussion on defense procurement between India and the US there, I think we have almost everybody here. So this, yes, just carrying forward the discussion on defense, I think this is something. This is going to be the mainstay, and one has to understand how does it become the mainstay. So the first thing is like Ambassador Bhattacharya mentioned about how do you deepen your ties with a country that is a NATO member, so that interoperability and sort of, I mean, those kind of things become important. Lately, you've seen that India has also come of age. We recently conducted exercise Tarang Shakti, India's first multilateral air exercise, where you saw all the Western powers and all the, the F-16s and all the Eurofighter Typhoons, etc., coming and doing joint sorties and war games with our fighters, for example, not just the Sukhoi Mk-30s, but also Rafales, etc. So we will see more and more interoperability. That's one part. But I want to really focus on what is the key areas that we need to work on. See, not many people know, for example, that a very famous Polish private defense company by the name of WB Electronics is already in India. Okay, and they are, I think, they are pioneers in the drone, for example, technology. So I would expect after this particular visit that we would have something more tangible coming out between India and Poland on the question of drones, more investments, because WB Electronics is already here. The other thing is about, let's understand that Poland has donated most of its Soviet-era equipment to Ukraine. So those assembly lines are actually lying vacant. And India is on a lookout for the modernization of its T-72 tanks. So this is an ideal win-win situation where India can get its tanks modernized by the Poles, whereas they have given it to Ukraine and they are modernizing to Western equipment.
Right. Let's also get some updates live from Warsaw. DD India correspondent Vishal Baristo is is with us from Warsaw. Vishal, we're just playing out the visuals of the delegation level talks. Very interesting round table and the leaders sitting across one another. What expectations are you tracking in Warsaw as the leaders engage?
Well, absolutely, Shubhendu. I was overhearing your conversation with experts there, and let me take the things forward as we talk about the bilaterals between the Prime Minister and the Prime Minister Tusk. Our expert just spoke about Tarang Shakti, and let me tell you that the second edition of the Tarang Shakti would begin on the 29th of August. So India wants to tell the world that we have arrived, and especially when it comes to Make in India, now from the importer of defense equipments, now we are the exporter as well. And now talking about the bilateral trade between the two countries, as we were discussing, that it stands at $6 billion. But in comparison to China, it is only 1/10. So there is a huge potential between India and China, I beg your pardon, India and Poland bilateral trade. And also this needs to be improved. There are some very interesting areas, like Poland has got an expertise in the sector of satellites. All they are manufacturing equipments, the private sector is manufacturing equipments, and also the important parts of the satellite. And yesterday the Deputy Foreign Minister of Poland did mention that India can take advantage of Polish expertise. At the same time, there are other areas which Poland would be interested in, which is artificial intelligence, digitization. Remember, India has shown the world how it has used this technology to great extent and to the best of it especially during the COVID-19 pandemic. And also how the digital transaction direct benefits to the farmers and also to the needy has also set a benchmark for the world, and that is where Poland would be interested in. Then there is area of green energy, especially the green hydrogen, and the world is looking at India because India has an expertise in green hydrogen. So these are the areas that both countries need to look up at, because defense, space, artificial intelligence, green, we are talking about future. And when it comes to future, then India and Poland needs to work more closely, and especially for the stability and peace in the region. India has made it very clear. Prime Minister said that India wants diplomacy and dialogue to be given a chance rather than bullets and guns. So despite of our
Vishal, that's an important point. That's an important point. If I may ask you, Poland sharing borders with Ukraine, where a war is going on for over a couple of years now, how is the conflict, which is affecting the entire region and beyond, how is it being experienced in Poland, and to what extent could this also feature in the engagement between the leaders?
Well, Shubhendu, Ukraine was the breadbasket of Europe, and with the war going for more than a year, it's very difficult for the neighboring countries, especially like Poland, who has suffered a lot first during the Second World War, and then that was a huge period of the communist rule. And now coming out of communism, Poland is now a democratic country, and it is now becoming advanced like India, and it sees India as a good partner, because yesterday the Deputy Foreign Minister of Poland did say that like India, we have also suffered a lot of aggression, and India is still suffering aggression in a different way, where he was referring to the state-sponsored terrorism. So despite Poland being a member of NATO, it has got its independent understanding, and that is why it welcomed the step of Prime Minister Narendra Modi's initiative to go to Kyiv after Poland with the message of peace and stability. So we are all expecting that something would come out good of this trip, especially when Prime Minister is traveling from Moscow to Poland and then to Kyiv. Shubhendu?
Okay, Vishal, thank you for those inputs. We'll keep coming back to you.